Okay, hi, good evening, everyone. Welcome back to our next, yet another BBKP session. This time we have another student of Hitbullseye who's converted IIM Ahmedabad, and he's going to talk about his journey. Welcome, Akhil. Congratulations. But before, I let you speak. Sorry, just 1 minute. So, but before I let you speak, I'll take 2-3 minutes more and just set the tone for the day's session. So students who've been watching all these sessions of BBKP know that I focus a lot on the behavior aspects of a student who cracks a good B school. Okay, the first is that they have a calm mind. Second is they know how to come out of difficult situations. Third is that the journey is never a straight line, increasing graph, no, never. However, they understand what their weaker sections are, what their weak points are, how do they work on it. It's a constant improvement. They know life is not a bed of roses. It has its share. There are difficulties in life, and how to overcome them with a calm mind is very important. So, irrespective of any background, so we've had students who converted commerce from commerce backgrounds, arts background, who converted good colleges. Today, we have a student from IIT who's converted a good college. So, over to you, Akhil. Obviously, it's about your journey. While I've been associated with Hitbullseye for around 20 years now and been, discussing student success stories ever since. However, every time, because you just cleared the paper, they want to hear it from you. And over to you. Heartiest congratulations once again. Why don't you start with giving a little brief introduction about yourself and then taking it up from there? Tell us, how did you prepare? The way you told us things which helped you, where you got stuck. So really want to understand how was this journey, but start with a little introduction about yourself. Over to you.
Hello, thank you so much for giving the congratulations and best wishes.
Most
I'm Akhil. I basically come from Hyderabad, but I've grown up in Pune and Indore. My dad's job gave me an opportunity to learn Hindi very well, I would say at first. So I am actually from Hyderabad. My hometown is Hyderabad. I speak Telugu very well, but I associated more with the Hindi languages. So I mean, if I suddenly start speaking Hindi, then please don't be startled. I did my undergraduate in chemical engineering from IIT Madras. I always wanted to be an engineer, and JE was one of the biggest dreams that I had when I was young, 15 years. So I was, of course, very actively pursuing that. Then when I joined the elite institute that IITM is, I really thought that there are so many people who are probably better than me in multiple aspects. That gave me a very good forum to learn different strengths. And then I'm an ardent fan of cricket. For the first time, it gave me an opportunity to play cricket professionally. There was a coach who was very strict. The ground, Kempla's ground, is one of the best the IITs has. I mean, Ranji Trophy matches have happened. I've seen international players practice there. I've personally met a couple of them. So it's a very good ground. So that sort of pushed me to practice cricket in a very, very professional way. So I did that for my college. And then after graduating, I wanted to get into a core job, which sort of helps me, to use the chemical engineering skills that I've picked up. I also got an operations minor. So I thought that a link of these two will help. So I got into a pharma company. I got into an internship. They offered a PPO. So I liked the work. I joined it. So since 2021, I've been working. And then when I worked, for more than a year, this program involves me moving to different sites. So now I travel to various places, executed different strategic projects. So over the course of this journey, I realized that, there are some aspects which are beyond science or beyond technicalities, which, one always needs to have at the edge, at the tip. The biggest one being people management, because, when you come from a background which pushes you or which gives you a head start, you join into a sort of managerial role. with having no managerial experience. So, when you come into that, it sort of becomes difficult because you've got people who are reporting to you who are twice your age, who've got more experience. And honestly speaking, they had more knowledge as well. So the only thing that my company sort of believed was that I am good at learning quickly at best. Or maybe if some task can be done in 2 days, maybe I can do it in half a day or a day. That's the only strength that they thought I had. But knowledge wise, I was pretty much zero. So when I started focusing on that, and then sometimes I tilted on the knowledge part and lacked the managerial aspects. I focused too much on management, and the vice president would come up to me and say, Akhil, you need to be technically more competent on this one. So it's always a balance that one needs to maintain. But I somehow, after gaining about a couple of years of experience, I mean, by the end of June, July, I'll have completed 2 years of work. So I thought that, I've gained certain knowledge. Maybe it's a good time to understand how the business side works. Because most of the senior leaders in my company, and in any company for that matter, if you look at it, they've got a management background. So I thought that you might as well give a try to that. So it was not really in my plans for a long time. I was sort of a late registrant into the CAT, and then by the time I had registered, I had only a couple of months or more left. I think September is the deadline, if I'm not wrong. September 14th or 15th was the deadline.
Yes.
I filled it a couple of days before that. It was not that I wanted to do it since beginning of 2022. So I was very late, and I spoke to a lot of seniors, and some of them said that it takes 4 months in general. I mean, I'm talking about seniors from my college, so they sort of knew me, and they knew at what level I might operate and what level in general engineers operate. So they thought that it generally takes 3 to 4 months of good prep. Given that you're working, it's obviously going to be difficult. And some of them said that no, I think you should give the exam anyway. You might as well give a trial exam if you may, but you should definitely fill the form. And I think 2 months is also good enough time to crack. It all depends on how you approach it, is what some of the people told. So I was discussing with my family, and I decided at least let's give the exam. I mean, there's no harm in giving the exam. Barely costs a few thousand rupees to register. So I did that, and then when I did that, I thought that I've already invested a bit of cost. So, some cost is gone. If I don't act, then that money will definitely be done. So I should invest a bit more into something where, I can prepare and try to conquer the exam, if you may. So I took up some test series. I started giving a few exams. The first exam I gave sort of introduced me to what CAT is like, because before then I hadn't even seen a sample paper. So I immediately picked up a pen and paper. I took 2 hours out and I gave an exam. And I realized that, okay, it's got 3 sections. That's the first introduction I had with the exam, that it's got 3 sections. You can't jumble between the sections. It's not like JEE where you solve physics. You don't get a couple of questions. You do math, gain confidence, come back to chemistry. It's not like that. Each section is timed. The order of the sections are fixed. It's an online exam. All these, the first learnings which you see, which you develop over time. So that is what had happened with the first test I gave. My first thought after looking at CAT paper, I didn't do well. Of course, I didn't do well in the mock test. And then I thought that okay, I didn't do well, but it seems like an exam which is not very knowledge oriented per se. It's more aptitude oriented. You need to be smart. You need to pick your questions well. Especially with the DILR section. I mean, I'll speak more about that if given a chance. But there are some questions where it's not really about solving the 100% of the paper. It's pretty much like JEE, where when you start solving, you feel that other questions are nahi aa rahe. But 50% marks actually gets you a rank in top 10,000 or 8,000, something, a very good rank basically, to get into at least a good IIT. So it's pretty much like that in CAT. You don't have to ace the paper in a sense like a school exam where boards the percentages start from 90 plus these days. Everyone is getting 90, 95, 98, 99. It's not like that. The marks are sort of it varies pretty much with each set, but you don't have to solve the 100% of the paper. You need to pick the right question. Time management is the key. All these things I started to learn with time. And I tried to get a perfect paper before getting into CAT, but I never got it. Sometimes तीनों ही खराब हो जाते थे. Sometimes, most of the times, math or the quant section was the one which was holding me afloat. sometimes I used to mess up very, very badly in the VRC section. Sometimes the DILR would go for a toss. And some days I would get full in DILR and the math would be very tough. Most of the times I remember math being good, but I remember a few exams where math was also not my friend. VRC and DILR were not very close to me either. So I was very nervous when I was giving the exam. But I knew that, on a good day, I can do well. It's really about, having a bit of, it's about having a good start, I would say, because those 2 hours can go anyway. You might be one of the smartest people in the world, but you might have a slight hiccup on that day. Your mindset is different. Your exam will not go well. So, I mean, I can go on speaking, but I might need a bit of direction from sir when you ask the next question.
No, that's maybe we really want to hear you. The raw thing that you really want to communicate and tell that. But I really want to understand, and what you told me, I really want our students also to know the importance of mock cats. Akhil primarily prepared through mock cats. He, as he talked and as he said, that he picked up the mock cat and understood what are the sections. Okay, and that is what our endeavor always has been. That's what every faculty of yours has been telling you, that whenever the mock cat series starts, the mock cat, there are a few mock cats which have already happened. Please start taking mock cats. Don't wait for the day when in one day you'll be able to finish the preparation and then you take mock cats. Also, there was one very particular thing which Akhil talked about. I'm just putting it into different words, that there's always a starting point which all the you identify your starting point, and the moment you identify your starting point, you know what time you require to ace that particular topic section. However, finally, the only way to crack the paper is that you should know which questions to do and you should know which questions to leave and not waste your time in those questions. Am I right, Akhil?
Absolutely.
Was that
absolutely.
your approach?
Absolutely.
So that's very important. And so Akhil, tell us, there would have been huge fluctuations in the percentiles because it was a very mock cat based approach that you followed. And so how did you did the first mock cat? How did you analyze the paper? What came through your mind? Did you actually go back to the basics? What did you do?
Yeah, sure. So to add to what sir told, he told that don't complete the preparation then start, because there is no end to the preparation. I'll be very honest.
Perfect. Yes.
There is no 100% achievement where you can say that I've mastered the exam because tomorrow I can give a question which you won't be able to solve. And that's the case with all the scientists as well in the world. That's why they keep on reading. So there's no end. Perfection is probably a journey, not a destination. So I think starting mock cats early would definitely be a suggestion that I will give. It sort of puts things in a perspective. One is how you're dealing with the actual paper pattern. Second is the ability to deliver under time. With the kind of things we hear, a paper cannot decide your future. I completely agree. It cannot. But it also tells something about you where, when it's actually needed, when it's a crunch time to deliver, how are you doing it? So it tells something about you. It might come naturally to some people. It might not come naturally to some. So if it's not coming naturally, there's no problem at all. I mean, you have your own strengths, but you have to develop that because that's the ask of CAT. So that only comes when, the actual November exam is just another mock exam for you. So give so many mocks that you become habituated to sitting there for 2 hours, English, DILR, font in this order. There'll be tests where you won't start well. There'll be tests when you start well, but the middle part doesn't go well. All these things you should have experienced beforehand, so that when you actually go into the real math situation or the real exam, it's just another paper, or it's, as we say, it's just another ball. So it's very important that we practice. Answering to the second question, how the journey was, I think analysis part, people might not talk a lot about, but I feel that's more important than just giving the exam. If it comes to choosing between, analyzing the previous paper, giving an extra mock exam, I would say you analyze the previous paper because, analysis actually takes more than 2 hours because those are the questions you didn't get, right? So those are the tougher questions. So I feel that you might want to spend extra time to make sure that the next time those kind of questions come, you solve them well. There are very few topics in math. It's not really a very big list. It's quite small. I think 8 to 10 topics. Calculus is not there for all those non-engineers. So it's basic algebra. Geometry will be there. PNC, permutation and combination will be there. Bit of Bayes theorem and all. logs, surge, all basic stuff, not very advanced. It's really about speed and accuracy. So you need to optimize that time. You have to try different methods in the mock test. So, for example, if I talk about math or the quant section, you might try a mock where you're just going berserk. You're going very fast. You're solving questions, but then you realize, okay, you've hit maybe 17 questions that you have gone, but out of them, 5 of them are wrong or 6 of them are wrong. Maybe even worse. I don't know. That doesn't help you, right? Because 17 may say 6 are wrong, so that brought you negative. You are even lower than the person who just attempted 11 and he got 11 correct. So you have to get that right balance between your speed and your accuracy. There'll be a graph where a peak will be obtained. So that you have to master. That's about math. It's pretty much about practice. Very, very few topics. Go back to the basics, read up, know all the formulas. It's not like JEE Advanced where, a lot of our professors used to tell, "ठीक है, एक आधा formula भूल गए तो भी you can derive it on the spot," because questions ही इतने मुश्किल होते थे, you won't get all of them. So you have time to work your way through. But CAT is not like that. It's a very easy paper per se. For all the engineers, at least they will understand who was given JEE. CAT is a very easy paper, so it is not checking, how intelligent you are. It sort of just wants to put you in a pressure situation, which is what is the ask of business world as well. So it's fair. In real world, you're going to have Chat GPT, man. Come on, you're going to have Google. You're going to have your friends next to you. You can just pick up a call and ask anything you want. But the ability to take a decision in the pressure situation is what defines you. So I think that's what CAT wants to check. Coming back to DILR, as far as I remember, there are 4 sets. The pattern keeps changing. So during my time, as far as I remember, there were 4 sets. You solve 2 of them correctly. So 10 of them, if you get 10 questions, correct me if I'm wrong, sir, I think you'll get 99.9 percentile.
Yeah, right. Perfect. Yes.
So if you solve 10 out of 20, so now you can see that it's barely a 10 to 12 question game. You don't have to solve everything. So in 40 minutes, even if you spend first 10 minutes, you get the first set wrong. The very conundrum comes, is the second set easier? Or should I go back to this one and make sure, I get this right? What happened with me in the actual CAT was I picked the first one. I thought that the set is easier when I looked at it. First 3 minutes amongst the 40 minutes of DILR, you should read through all the sets, pick your target. Of course, start with the easiest one. There is no surprise to that. You go there, you solve. The problem arises when the easiest one goes wrong, which happened with me in the actual CAT. So my bet was I bagged myself. I thought, no, I should solve this one because the next one looks a bit tricky. I have to think for a couple of minutes more. This one is very clear. It's just a calculation mistake. I'll go again. And I did that again. Again, it went wrong. So after that, I had to sort of just do a compensation. I left that set completely. Went to another set. I managed few here and there. DILR was my worst section. I didn't do well in DILR at all. Okay. And quant was, of course, it was. It's always been there. So it was good. Overall, it was. I think I got 99.76 overall because of the push I got from DRC. Mine was set 1 in DRC, which later I realized after coming out and after Pura Din Ka end was the toughest English set. So for those who don't know, CAT normalizes the score. It's not the same paper, first of all. So 3 sets will be there. All the 3 sets are different questions. It might happen that one of the English is harder and one of the math is harder. So they can't really regulate that, right? So they map everything on I'm sure they do the data analytics. They find the standard deviations, they find the average, and they draw a normal curve to understand how to adjust the score. And when that happens, you get a grace mark or your marks get lowered. So for example, you got 33 in math, and that's a harder section. So they give you like grace marks according to your position in the group. So it might be 37, it might go to 38. But if it's an easier section, if you're less than average, then your marks even go down. So it's very important to not panic if a section is not going well, because you never know, it might be the hardest section of the entire day. 3 exams, it might be the hardest. So it's like, I don't know how many people follow cricket, but if it's a sticky pitch, if it's a difficult wicket, it's turning a lot. 120 in T20 is defendable. I mean, you look at some grounds in Lucknow or maybe Delhi for that matter. But if you go to Bangalore, 200 is also not enough.
Exactly.
So yes, the same team will score 200 runs and they'll end up on the losing side. Then they realize that, no, we should play maybe couple of extra shots, get to 220, that might be enough. But on the same day, when they go to Lucknow, they might try 200, they'll get all out at 45, and that's it. Match is anyway done. So you have to identify what the pitch is like. And similarly here, you have to identify what the question paper is like. So again, for that, it won't come naturally. You know, it's not a God's gift, to be honest. You have to just practice, give mocks, and be able to judge that paper well with the experience that you have, giving 20, 30, 40 marks, whatever your preparation looks like. Everyone has their own. So with that, you have to somehow adapt to the exam and understand that, okay, look, I know that I have given so many marks. I know what level is, just say what marks I get. But this looks slightly harder. So naturally, my number of questions attempts should go down. So that calculation one should always do in their back of their minds. By hearing all this, it might look complicated, but it is not. It will come intuitively.
It's not complicated. It's not complicated, Akhil. But you know what I can make out is that you've been so sincere with taking mock cats and preparing through mock cats that you understood the gist of the paper, and hence you were very well prepared, right? That you understood where is this paper going to catch you and what you have to do if you get into a difficult situation. And you very calmly came out of those difficult situations, be it DILI section, which you talked about, and moved ahead. So I can make that out. This is I would say the mind which is talking here is someone who has been preparing for few years, not few months. I would say that. But that's a very good way of approaching this paper. Very good way. I would just add, for students who do not have, who identify their weaknesses, just go back. Let's take you've been getting geometry questions wrong. Giving an example, I don't mean geometry per se, but if you, let's say, been getting geometry questions wrong, go back to the basics, right? Get that right before you keep getting those questions wrong. Analyze the paper properly, and papers are also enough to tell you which sections you are good at and which sections you are bad at. Akhil, also tell us, if I have not interrupted, you can complete, but also tell us, so, every student starts with a particular mindset that these are the 3 sections. Mera ye wala section to ho jayega. I'll be able to manage a couple of sections here. And what I need to focus is on the second or the third section, and hence I'll crack the paper. How was it for you? Were you confident about quant? And did that remain the same journey? Or did you actually feel maybe you've taken your strengths and weaknesses, assumed your strengths and weaknesses, which they are not actually? So what was your take there?
So I'm an engineer, so quant should naturally be my strongest thing.
Yes.
Which was, so whenever in a mock cat I didn't used to do well in quant, I personally used to get very hurt, irrespective of my percentile. Or I might have done very well in a mock, getting the best percentile, but if math is not good, I personally would get hurt a lot. But yes, maths is, the quant section was supposed to be the easiest for me, so I always backed myself on that. I thought DILR was something I should be able to do again. But English was definitely, the first look, English scared me. I mean, I thought that, okay, English is the toughest one. I need to work. There is, a few good friends helped me a lot, of course. There are some essays which are available online. And then if you just read up, you'll find those resources. So those essays were about 5,000, 6,000 words. Very difficult English, and on the kind of topics that you never really speak about. And I have observed that CAT asks essays, or the comprehensions are on topics which you are not really familiar with, which makes it even more difficult. So if it's a known topic, you know that, okay, you read it well and you grasp it immediately. But if it's on topic which is very, very absurd, very abstract, it sort of throws your mind away. So I think your mind being able to adapt to a passage which is not really known to you, on a topic which is not really known to you, is very important. So please read those essays which puts you in a position where you feel like you don't know anything in life. There are so many people who have written so many wonderful stuff in the world. A lot of it I don't understand, of course, but it's good that you try hard to understand that level of literature, which helps a lot. So I did that for English. And the jumbled sentences, there'll be 4 or 5 sentences out of which you have to arrange them. Those kind of questions were there. I used to get 3 of them correct. One used to go off the order, so negative ho jata tha. Or whatever used to, I used to miss them by small margins, so I kept practicing those. DILR में there are about कुल मिला के I think 8 to 10 type of sets. If I broadly just categorize them, there are 8 to 10 type of questions which will come. Some of them will be about cubes. Some of them will be about arrangements, rearrangements. Some of them will be about finding the most optimum path. There are some certain 10 types of questions, I would say. So for each category, there'll be certain subtle variations. So har ek ke again 3, 4, 5 different types of variations hote. So whenever you solve a mock CAT, that is what I did. I used to maintain another Excel or whatever, wherever you want to track, you can, or PPT, whatever you're comfortable with. Wherever a math question or a DLR question of a certain type was new to me, I used to immediately take a screenshot, put it there, and then read up more about that and add notes or add points to that. So that used to become my revision set. So in the last week or the last couple of days, when I just wanted to go through everything, that was a ready reckoner available for me, which reminded me that ye topics I had not done well, but now I'm confident. So I'll just revise them anyway. While you're solving, when you do the analysis, there are a lot of good professors who upload solutions as well, whatever you follow. So when you look at those video solutions or when you look at those answers, sometimes they use some trick. You might have gotten it right, but you took 2.5 minutes. They solved it in 45 seconds. That is a very big advantage, right? Time is marks here. So you should immediately take a look at that formula, keep it in the back of your mind. You might never know when that formula will be useful. So it's always important that you have a collection of all those things which you found very surprising, very interesting, which you think that, okay, they might add me a couple of marks or 3 for that matter. So it's very important to go. I think strategically you have to proceed. It's not really about burning the midnight oil. I don't think CAT is about that. CAT is about making sure that you're on a path of continuous improvement, and that continuous improvement comes not. I mean, it's a fair share, but 60-40, 60 smart work, 40 hard work. Hard work in the sense you have to make sure you practice more. There is no substitute to that. And then you have to read more essays. You have to solve questions. You have to be you have to be thorough. So there is no substitute to hard work. But smart work in the sense that time and work wale questions you are doing well. If you're spending 20 minutes again to make you feel good that you are doing time and work questions, it's like kinematics in physics. Initially you spend a lot of time for kinematics in the coaching institute. It's a strong topic for all IITians, I can tell you. Everyone loves kinematics, but JEE doesn't ask, because it's a very old topic. It's asked so many questions. We all know what can come. Same body, same FBD, same friction. So it's a done and dusted topic, but there are so many new topics which are from where complicated questions can come. We don't like them because we cannot imagine them easily. But that is where you need to work hard. So essentially, it's about moving out of comfort zone, looking at the exam and say, okay, fine, this is the challenge. That is what is asked of me. I need to go and deliver. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what you like, because that's what they're asking you. If you want to get in, you have to put that ego or your happiness element aside and say, yeah, I don't like to read, but no, man, you have to read. I mean, you have to get your reading speed up. Spending extra minute on a reading comprehension is going to cost you your marks. Wherever you feel there are gaps, I think you have to just keep on cutting them and you'll do well.
So the first question which I'm asking from the YouTube channel, are mock CATs and books enough for the preparation? What's your take? Because we're talking something similar. So
yes, I would like to ask that chap. I mean, what else is an option to do? I mean, books and mock CATs are pretty much covering everything.
Yes.
Yes. It's very helpful. It's comprehensive.
So I'll just like to add here. There's another name which is appearing. Chai is what he's written his name, which is visible to us. But whatever name is, I would like to say that, see, there's a lot of time, effort, years which have gone into preparing a particular material. Now you see this way that how would a faculty sit down and prepare? How is the material prepared? Let's take in CAT 2000 or 2001, a particular question was asked. Okay, what can be the difficult? What can be the different ways in which this question can be phrased, rephrased, taken forward, made more difficult? What is the fundamental that they are going to ask? So that brainstorming is continuously happening for so many years at Hitbullseye. So, we have, for that matter, and I've seen those faculties even when I've moved out of preparing this curriculum, I've seen faculties doing this, and hence that minor things are also taken care of. Okay, then whatever we feel, then the imagination starts. What else can be asked? So obviously, the books and mock tests are enough for the preparation. And as Akhil said, what else? What other option do you have? But make your own notebook. The way Akhil said, whenever I've interacted with someone who's cracked a good institute, they've always said they've maintained another notebook, Excel, PPT, whatever, and used to have that handy and revise it very frequently. Especially last week used to go, and that's the best practice that we need to catch. And this book should be made by you, because only then will you remember and be able to refer to it. Am I right, Akhil?
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yes. So another thing is, when should a person start preparing? How many months preparation can be considered as good enough? Akhil, over to you. You tell me.
So like I started, I mean, I'm not a good person to answer this question because I was very late to start my preparation. I would really consider myself very lucky. So I won't advise my case to anyone else.
No, I'll not say that. I'll not say that. We'll just hear he's missing on something. We'll just hear the hard work which went into it. I'll ask him those questions. He'll point out. He's not lucky. He worked really hard, right? He's being very modest when he says that. But anyways, Akhil, complete your answer.
In general, if you're an engineer, I would say 4 to 5 months is good enough. So I think if you're attending this call, that means you're very serious and you're very early. So you have not lost anything. May, June is a good time to start. You haven't really missed out on anything. You can start now and it's still good enough. Time-wise, you're not on any shortage as such. But if you're a non-engineer, then you might want to take a couple of extra months with the assumption that math might not be of your strong suit. That is the only thing which I'm assuming when I say you're not an engineer. You might be better than a lot of us. And then again, the 4 month, 3 month bracket, 2 months, 45 days, 15 days, anything is fine. But in general, I would say 5 months is a good time for you to take.
And I take this, we both have one interest in common, me and Akhil, that is cricket. And the first thing I would like to add here is you have to back yourself. If you don't back yourself, no one else is coming to back you. Right, Akhil? That's what we say in cricket.
Definitely.
When you're there batting, when you're there bowling, even a slightest doubt that you will not be able to do it is only going to harm you and your performance. No one else, everyone else is going to sit in the audience and clap that they're improving their percentile because of a person like you appearing in the paper, right? So what I want to say here is, please identify your starting point. Someone's good in geometry, another person's good in number system, another person's good in algebra. And from that starting point, improve your aptitude. Okay, don't regress. Please improve your aptitude from there. So if someone's good in RC already, hang on, please focus. These are the months where you focus your weaker areas, improve on your weaker areas, right? That's very, very important. So Akhil, I think that's what you wanted to say. Identify the starting point and fine-tune your strategies, keep taking mock cats. And we think, Khushi, you asked this question. So it's the right time. You've not missed on anything. If you've identified, what is the biggest problem in this world? The biggest problem in this world is that people think they don't have a weakness. The moment you realize you have a weakness, work on it. A couple of months are enough for you to hang on. You pass that examination class. At least you have the basics, some basics. So you can just work on it. And I cannot go back and say, I can go back and say that when we passed the examination for 7th standard, we said, kitni aasan thi, usse pehle wo kitna mushkil lagta tha. So you've spent so many years now. Please, that simple maths of 8th, 9th, 10th, maybe a bit of 11th and 12th will make sense if you put your head to it. That's what I'm saying goes for vocabulary, verbal, and DINLR. So the relevant question I'll start asking you when the time comes, Akhil. So how did you feel when you got this percentile? 99.76, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. So like I said, I didn't do well in DILR. So when you just get an answer key or the same sheet that you submitted, they sort of send you the print after a couple of days and with an answer key. I checked and I thought that these marks are okay, but they might not be that great. So I was a bit dicey. I got results came very early this time. Generally, they come in Jan mid. This time they came in December. I was traveling back from my work and I got to know that the results have come out. So I didn't really check. I was watching a movie. I completed that first. I went home. I went home and I opened it and I saw 99.76 and I thought that, okay, at least I think I have a shot at interviews. So that was the first thought that I need to start working hard because till then I hadn't really worked on interviews and it was already December. And then dhire dhire calls started to come. I think the first call I got was IIM Code. It gave very early. After that, as far as I remember, IIM Calcutta or Lucknow, one of them gave. Then Ahmedabad gave, and then Bangalore, and then the rest, of course, followed. FMS and Indore and everything else. So when calls started to come, I wanted to get into one of the big three. So when at least one of the big calls came, I realized that okay, I at least have a shot, irrespective of how many interviews more I'm gonna get. I have one chance to have to convert. And I personally thought that 99.76 with 2 years of work experience, it might just be dicey enough, and on a bad day in an interview, I might get rejected. I thought that on a bad interview, I might get rejected. So I more than cat, I really prepared for the interview. I mean, I will tell that I really worked hard. Me and another friend, of course, very helpful. We worked really hard uh, with good support. Lot of interactions with seniors who are. I mean, that's an advantage of having a good alumni network. They played a very important role. I spoke to them. Basically there are 4 or 5 broad topics, if I may. One is the HR questions which they ask: why MBA, where do you see yourself, etc. Technical aspect: if you're an engineer, you should know engineering. You're a lawyer, you should know law. They'll definitely ask you questions on that. General knowledge, current affairs, of course, a very important aspect. If you have work ex, then be very thorough with what you've done. That becomes a very critical aspect. And some basics of courses which MBA professors might expect you to have some idea, because you are claiming that you are very interested in management courses. So you need to have some awareness about certain topics which they might be interested in. So I was lucky because I had an operations minor. So I had done 4 courses in IIT Madras with operations. So I had my game around operations very well prepared. And you've got to know a bit of economics. It will help how the rupee works. Why is the rupee floating? Why does it go up? Why does it go down? Basics of economics, macro and microeconomics both. Current affairs mein, you have to be aware. I mean, you have to know what is going on. Not in the sense that who is the prime minister of the country. That's very basic. You can just keep coming down levels. Go deeper. Who is the governor? Who is the chief minister? How does RBI work? What are the hot news that's going on? Recently elections have happened, Karnataka elections. If you're giving an interview now, they'll definitely ask you about the elections. If you give your interview in February, budget generally comes by then, Feb end. So sorry, Jan Feb time, the budget generally comes up. So they'll definitely ask you about that. If it's before budget, they'll ask you what changes do you think should happen. If it's after budget, they'll ask, is the budget good enough? So that is something you should always be prepared about. And hobbies are also something which are very important. In all the interviews, they had asked me A, B, C, and I only gave 4 interviews. I got other calls as well, but I had work commitments. I couldn't really leave. So I thought I'll give A, B, C, and L interviews. And then these are the 4 that I want to go in. In all of them, they made sure that they asked me, what else do you do apart from work? So, you need to have a very strong command. And when you say that you like cricket, it should be to the level that you should be able to explain the difference between reverse swing and conventional swing. If you're an engineer, they might ask, how does swing mechanism work? You need to have those real scientific mechanisms about why the air is moving slower on, and what is reverse Magnus effect, what is Bernoulli's principle. You need to have certain idea about why this ball is moving a certain way. You need to know about pitches. You need to know about BCCI revenue model, IPL revenue model. They can ask anything. When you say cricket, they can ask what are the 10 ways to get out. There's so many questions that come up which you don't think about. So I think putting that extra thought in your hobbies is very important. The technicalities of the hobbies, and trust me, they know a lot. you pick any topic, they seem to know a lot more. So it's always good to prepare on your strength, and don't bluff. I mean, there is this. I was giving this example to another friend of mine. When you are in a group, there are 4 topics which everyone knows about, but there is a 5th topic about which you know 3 points extra, which when you discuss in that group, which is it sort of puts you on a pedestal. You feel, wow, I know a lot. But those 5 topics, experts are sitting there. So when you tell that 5th topic as your first, in the hope that they'll get impressed same like your friends are, it won't happen that way. They are experts of all the topics, so they think that you have played your best card. That is how they think. They want to select you. Trust me, they want to select you. So when you talk about something, they think that, okay, this is this child's game. Let's support him. Let's ask him more about that. Maybe he'll talk more. And when they start asking those questions, then you'll falter after the second one. They will sort of create a image about all the 10 topics that are there, saying ki isko to nahi aata hai. So it's always good to say I don't know if they start with some topic, because if you're an engineer and they ask you what is IRR, it's a financial topic. You can say I don't know. It won't really hurt. But if you try to take a guess, if you try to pretend that you're interested in finance, but you've only read a couple of PPTs and you've taken 2-3 YouTube lectures, that is not sufficient. You need to have in-depth knowledge. So whatever you're going to play your game at, you need to be very thorough with it. Don't bluff. Be honest, be calm. All these seem very cliche, basic suggestions, but these are what really matter. They want to
that's
have a
an
conversation.
outcome. I'll hang on here. I'll have to interrupt here. That's an outcome which Akhil is discussing. Akhil, tell us, how did you prepare? So you were there at Hitbullseye, but then you went an extra mile because you knew that these are the 4 institutes I'm preparing for, and they were, I think, what we discussed, if I'm not mistaken, please correct me if I'm wrong. You took multiple mock interviews. You covered. You knew how your interview is going to go. Am I right? There was not a single question which was asked, which was in the interview, which was out of what you had prepared. So that's a foolproof way of preparing. Please, Akhil, tell us about it. Okay, what you've been talking is that that's the final outcome. But I want to see what was the input. Please tell our students about that.
Yeah, I think interview. I generally don't say it out loud, but in general, I personally would rate my interview prep very well. I thought I worked really hard. I given a lot of time. These are the five verticals which I talked about. HR, general studies, all those 5 things which I talked about. I picked each one. I tried to put myself in a room where I'm talking to the interviewer, and I wanted to reject myself. So if I wanted to reject Akhil, what were the questions I would have asked? And I tried to make a list of those questions. And then I started thinking ways of getting out. If suddenly someone asks me, basic questions like, how many Lok Sabha seats, Rajya Sabha seats you should know, or how many, when does the state election happen? All these things you should know. But if suddenly someone asks you, mayor elections, what are the politics which are going on? If you are made the mayor, then apart from the basic strategies, what do you think your city is lacking? These kind of things also you should be able to think. And for that, I think it's very important that you don't get startled. If you go unexpected, the kind of interviews which IIM take, you can easily get surprised or thrown off the foot. And then when that happens, they realize that the student is not taking it well, and they throw in another difficult question. You basically don't want to give them a reason to reject you. They are there to select. But if you give them a reason on a silver platter, they're going to grab it with both hands, because they call for about 2,000 people per interview. Only 300, 400 seats left. General category, 200 seats left in IIM Ahmedabad. So it's not that they want to select everyone. Whenever a candidate enters, they look at that and they're like, oh, maybe he's the one. So your interview preparation, I feel, should be very thorough, very comprehensive, in the sense you know all the topics. You would want to imagine. Oh, one more thing I want to talk about: driving the interview. I think that is a very, very important thing, because when you ask a question, leave it when you answer a question, leave it at an end where they can pick up a next question from that topic. And when that happens, you know that the next topic is also your strength. You can speak for another couple of minutes. After drilling for 3-4 times, generally they like to change. So if you're very confident about something, so for example, if you ask me about mathematics, calculus, or if you want me to speak about cricket, or if you want me to speak about some other interest of mine, I'll be very thorough with it. So I want to start that. So if they give you a very, I don't know, bread butter kind of question saying, tell me about yourself. Don't start by telling how I started in this interview saying I'm from Hyderabad, I like Telugu, Hindi. All that is not necessary. You need to have a very well prepared answer where you give them 4 or 5 points. I told them that I'm an engineer. I told them about my hobbies. Uh, I told them that I work in this so-and-so company, which has a program of rotation policy. I told them the places I went. I told them a couple of projects I worked on where I thought I got recognition. And when this happens, they sort of pick 4 or 5 points in their mind that, okay, this is what I want to ask. An interview is barely 30-40 minutes. This call itself is 1 hour. So 30-40 minutes, there are 4 or 5 topics that they can talk about. If you speak well, you can always take the discussion in a particular direction. But sometimes the interviewer knows that you're doing it, so they immediately cut you. Don't get startled. I mean, that's also a possibility because they have taken interviews again and again for years. So you might want to drive it in a certain way. They'll immediately realize that you're doing it. No, okay, let's talk about something else. So they can change that. That's also an option. But you should have all your cards ready. So like sir said, you need to be, there shouldn't be a lot of questions which come on that day, which you didn't think of. It's sort of a slap on your face. I took it that way, that it's insulting, right? You have put in a couple of months of thought into your interview preparation, and still someone is coming and asking something which you gave them a chance to ask. It's not that they'll randomly come like, Zimbabwe ka president kaun hai. They won't ask like that. But it's like your discussion went in a certain way where they suddenly came up and asked you some questions which they think you should know and you don't. So that's an insult. Be very thorough. I'm using a bit harsh word, but that's how I talk to myself.
No, I somewhere feel the moment you got 99.76 percentile, you said, hang on, I will make it. I have to make it.
Yeah.
And that approach I'm loving the most. Yes.
Yeah, actually, because I thought that I don't want to miss out by a couple of marks and feel bad saying, it doesn't make sense, is what I told myself that night. So it was that way. But yes, basically, again, very, very thorough preparation and mock PIs. I mean, special thanks to Hitbullseye, very, very wonderfully conducted mock PI long sessions. They gave feedbacks as well. So I would like to thank Hitbullseye for that. And you of course join a coaching institute which is going to help you. You have professors sitting there, but make sure that you ask random people to take an interview. It's a very good idea. Those who don't know much about what happens in an MBA interview, maybe ask them, is this topic pe aap kuch bhi pucho? Like there'll be some people who know more about, generally my father, I thought that he knows more about GK a lot more. He's been reading newspaper for ages whenever he's found interest in reading newspaper. So I always spoke to him about politics or about what is happening in global situations, because he will tell some opinion because of the editorials that he's read. It's very important. Make sure that you read newspapers. I mean, that's a given. Make sure that you read one newspaper. Pick whatever you want: Economic Times, Times of India, Indian Express. Make sure you're reading one newspaper throughout your interview prep. Not right now, I would say. I mean, if you have time, then please just be aware about what's happening. But at least after November 27th or 26th, whenever the exam will be, make sure that you're very, very focused on newspaper. You can tell examples which will really impress. It's like getting brownie points, right? If you can relate some example, and also very important thing, the analytical writing and the writing ability. The IIM Bangalore's writing ability test was about the Joshimath incident which happened. I remember talking to a friend who said, "What is Joshimath?" He didn't know that. So, when you get a question paper which just mentioned Joshimath, you don't even know which state it comes in, what happened with it. That's it. Your bat goes for a toss. It's 0 out of 10. I don't think there is any way you can come back, because out of 100, 10 marks you are getting 0, and everyone else is getting 8, 7, 6. You're done there. So it's very important that you practice for analytical writing and writing ability test as well. During my time, it was handwritten. And my handwriting is very bad. So I started, and after graduation, you don't really need to write, right? It's all emails. So, you have to practice that writing again. Now, all these little things you have to think about what can go wrong on that day. Be well-dressed, all the basics. I mean, well-groomed, be on time, don't be late.
Any interview which was not good?
I wouldn't say not good, but amongst all the 4, Lucknow was just They were just 10 minutes conversation. They were laughing. They were very happy that I'm there, it seems. And they asked me what all calls I got. I said ABCL. So, and very funny conversation. That's it. Calcutta was very rigorous. It went for 30-40 minutes. They asked me all the topics that I mentioned. I mean, it was my first interview. It was on 11th Feb in Hyderabad. Oh, by the way, it's in a star hotel. So you get to be in a star hotel. They give you food. So, that's another reason for you to do well in CAT and go for the interview. So that happens. And they asked me all the, and there are 3 faculties there. One of them plays the good cop. The other one is sort of waiting for a chance to pounce. And the third one is generally the bad cop. So, whenever you answer, one of them will seem to say, okay, and the other one will be like, no, this is garbage. This kind of answer is not expected. So, be aware that people want to put you on a tough situation. So, your expressions, your body language speaks a lot. They are there to look at that. So, don't get scared. It's okay. They're purposely doing it. It's not that your answer is that bad. They grilled a lot in Calcutta. Ahmedabad, it was a 25-30 minute conversation. If I have to rate, then I would probably rate Ahmedabad the lowest because they asked me only questions about work. And they were trying to prove that the work I do, you don't need an IITian for that. They're like, nahi, ye kya hai? Ye to basic hai. Then I'm trying to tell them why this is difficult. They're listening. 5 minutes later, they're like, no, anyone can do. Why do you need an IITian? So I'm trying to justify. They didn't seem convinced at the end, to be honest. But yeah, I mean, that's how they look. It's not that there are 8 questions, 4 you answer, then you are in. It's not like that. It's a very personality-based interview that they want to look at if you can fit in with the B school, if you can fit in with the corporate culture. So they've got their own metrics. So even if you do, very bad, you don't get any question. It's just the way you tackle that question is what becomes very important. So yeah, Ahmedabad, I would say, was the toughest.
There's a couple of questions on the channel and which I like to ask before we start wrapping up a session. So Chai asked how to deal with time pressure. I would say that, were you pressurized? How did you come out of it? Tell us from your, during the preparation for the CAT paper, during preparation for the interview, how did you come out of it?
I actually like that. I actually like giving competitive exams. It might sound very weird. Since JE days, I really enjoyed the preparation. So I like the fact that there is a certain time and you have to do it. Sort of gives me a sense of chasing a cricket score. So I really enjoy it always. So I enjoy the time pressure. So I would not be a very good person. So
you are Kohli who has a better average while chasing the score, right? Am I right? First of all, when I take this example. Okay, so second, please answer it. Yeah.
I like to be under a time crunch, and I think all engineers they generally don't start working till the last hour and then they complete the assignment. So that's how we are trained. I like the time crunch. I don't know about everyone else. You have your own ways to cope up with it. You have to cope up with it. Basically, that's the case.
Yeah, so I think you answered it very rightly. I just try to put it in different words that start enjoying the pressure. It's all about managing the pressure. It's a very personalized way of handling pressure. Yes. He feels that if there's pressure, it's good. I would say if there's pressure, 90% of the people are already out. They cannot handle pressure. Start enjoying pressure. You're anyways the top 10 percentile. Last question, which we missed, is what are the resources for reading paragraphs? I think you talked about reading some paragraphs. This student wants to ask it. Yeah.
No, I remember. I mean, please do your own research. There might be better resources now, but as far as I remember, there is something called Aeon essays. They seem to have one essay uploaded per day. You can just Google it. It's free of cost. Aeon, AEON, aeonessays.com or something like that. You can just Google it up. It had those essays which were looking very similar to how the reading comprehensions were looking like. So that's my.
However, I'd like to go back a little and understand the way he answered that. He spoke about this at that time. Akhil spoke about this at that time. Akhil said that whatever he was not able to understand, he used to focus on it and challenge himself a little bit. And that's how the aptitude increases. If I'm right, it was not in these words, but that was what the gist of it was, that please challenge yourself, put yourself under pressure, focus on a reading comprehension, which is a little more difficult than what you can understand, read about diverse topics, you will automatically improve. Right, Akhil? Anything else you want to add here?
No.
That's what I feel you wanted to say at that time.
Yes, that's perfectly good.
So anyways, the aptitude increases only if you put yourself under pressure. Aptitude will not increase, and he said it in different words. Aptitude will not increase just by sitting on Google and just checking Google. No, aptitude will not increase like that. So Akhil, let's start concluding. What would you like to say to conclude anything which you've missed? You can take a minute and think. Otherwise, you can conclude, and then I'll conclude.
Yeah, I mean, I thought I spoke a bit less about AWT, but I think there's a lot of time for that.
Yes, there's a lot of time. We'll have another, we'll call you again maybe.
Okay.
So,
sure. I'll be happy to help.
So, anything else from your side?
Yeah, I mean, it's again, it's good if you get in a good B school. Good is very subjective. For some, A might be the limit, ABC might be a limit, Black E might be a limit. It just keeps changing. It really depends upon what you want to do in your life. Don't just be stuck in a rat race and think that something is best. So, I mean, it honestly doesn't give you that much happiness after clearing if it's because of that reason.
Exactly. Yes.
So when you want to do something, just try to take a couple of steps back, see what you want to do, maybe because at the end of the day, it's about being happy, right? You might earn 1 crore, some other will earn 2, some other will earn 20, and money cannot be a aspect. You become a CEO, there'll be a bigger company, a bigger CEO. I mean, there is no end to it. Anytime, any place, there'll be a person better than you. So it's not about beating the competition. Just enjoy the time that you prepare. Be confident. There'll be ups and downs. It's like a sinusoidal curve. Once it goes down, it will come up. That's the nature. You can look at a lot of examples in real world which goes through the same cycle. So is human life. I mean, you'll have your ups, you'll have your downs. Please don't get worried if you don't do well. But having said that, that is no reason to start thinking about while you're preparing. So when you're preparing, you want to go for the kill, you want to win it and fight like it's your last day. But if it doesn't work out, then again, shake hands, smile, and walk off. I mean, that's how it is. So I just want to say that don't take extra pressure, but the right amount of pressure brings out the best result in everyone. So balance that. So I would like to sum up with it.
And the conclusion summary from my side will be: I just learned one more thing: back yourself.
Yes.
If you back yourself, I mean, apart from all whatever I've been saying in session today, my learning is this guy backed himself, and once he sniffed it, he said, "I will do it." And that's the determination which makes you achieve greater heights. It makes you achieve something in life. Once you know it, what's your weakness, improve it. If you're very close to mastering something, do it. Put in that extra effort if you want to achieve that extra in life. Am I right again? I learned that from you today. I'll be honest, I've never spoken about this in any of my other BBKP sessions. So learning for me as well, learning for all the students as well. We wish you all the very best.
Thank you.
For 2 years at Ahmedabad and life after it. Stay in touch. All the best.
Thank you so much, and a special shout out to Hitbullseye as well. Thank you so much for calling me here and helping me through the journey. You've been a great support, so thank you so much.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you. It was a very heartening. Yes. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
All the best. Bye.